Black culture is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's
Stop. You're talking to a radical, not a Democrat. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation. Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make, and yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. If I show you respect, give me the respect back. Ooh, I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go. Greetings.
Good morning, Owasso. This is Chad with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. Well, today we're going to be talking about one black radical versus 20 black conservatives on the Jubilee. And, yeah, this is kind of like a show that's been blowing up, which I don't think it's that great, because I think every time they start to get into, like, a good portion of the debate, they switch out the people, from which I've heard from people who have been on this show, from interviews and stuff from other people. It's the little flag thing, or they hold their flag up, is not really dictate if they pull somebody off. It's the producers that pull the people off. Like, it's just them randomly deciding whether or not they're going to pull somebody off or not. And every time, I swear, in every single debate, right as it starts to get interesting, they pull them. So I don't know why that is. I think it's stupid. That's why everyone's like, oh, this is so fun, this is so interesting. Like, not really. I think that there should be more debate in it. Like, a debate isn't like a rush to who gets to talk. I mean, like, that's the other part of this too, is like a bunch of YouTubers and other influencers that just come in that they invite on this show. It's, I don't know. It's interesting, but we're going to go ahead and get into this. But the first part is who is Amanda Seales, or Sealy, or whatever her name is? And she is the lady that defended Jussie Smollett even after it was proven that he was guilty, that he was the one that made up this hoax. So let's go check that out here from this interview from when she was on whatever show this was. Nope. It's this one right here. The Real. Hashtag Girl Chat.
Chicago politics is ruthless, okay? And I'm telling you, this is more about Kim Foxx and that situation than Jussie. They're just using Jussie as a scam. Come on, y'all. It was no victims. They can't really prove it.
Thank you.
Everything was
even if it was a hoax, this is really happening all the time. And even if it was a hoax for the sake of bringing attention to this, then I'm like, that's low-key noble. Like, I'm at my wit's end about us centering situations like this. And
that is low-key noble. What happens if somebody was arrested for that? What happens if there were randomly just a couple of white guys out there walking around during that vortex blizzard at 3 a.m. in the morning that got arrested? It's the what if scenario. Like, their lives would have been ruined. And she's defending, oh, it's low-key noble. Low-key noble. Like, no. A hoax does not help forward your cause. All that does is set back your cause. I can't believe that she's this stupid.
And wanting to make people have to pay. And it's like, Emmett Till's accuser was alive. I think she's still alive.
Yep. Yes,
and this young man died, and she announced that she was lying about it. They should have put the shackles on her that day, and she's walking around. So no one was hurt in this situation. Nobody. You know what they're mad about? Their time, their resources being used.
Money, the
taxpayers' resources. Taxpayers' resources are being used every day to imprison people.
Okay, just talk about how hypocritical what she just said was. Like, some lady that falsely accused or falsely shot a black person, is walking the streets every day. She should have been chained up that day, which I'm not completely opposed to, but the same situation, what if this same situation happened to some poor innocent white guys on the Jussie Smollett side? Jussie Smollett would have, by her logic, he would have had to have been arrested and put in those guys' places that day. This is how arrogant and how stupid this lady really is. This is her thought process.
People who have done nothing but be an addict. So I don't want to hear about Jussie Smollett.
Okay, but I do want to have people that feel that well, what if a hate crime really happens to me, and now because of what Jussie Smollett did, now they don't believe me?
If this one instance is what makes them not believe you, baby, that's a lie that they're telling ourselves. We have lived in a nation where they don't believe hate crimes every day. Every single day.
Sure. But
No, that was a perfectly valid question from her, and it does set those back. Now people are going to look at any hoax, any hate crime with a look of skepticism. Is this another hoax? Is this another hoax? That's what she's not realizing. That was another silly thing that she just said. That's her thought process. That's what she thinks.
Is there an answer? But I just want to ask. I just want to ask because Jussie is it is huge nationwide news because he is famous. So if it was a hoax, what do you think is the correct punishment? And do you think he should be?
They got
punished?
murderers on probation, Gina.
Sure. But I'm asking about Jussie Smollett. I'm asking about that because you said it was low-key noble. I just want to understand.
It literally should be like
he should be applauded.
Damn.
Oh.
They got smacks on the wrist for all these people, and they can't give a smack on the wrist to Jussie Smollett, because they're saying that it's a whole big thing. I don't believe it.
Sure.
And we look at black men who are constantly getting the book thrown at them all the time. All the time. All the time.
Okay. Still absolutely ridiculous, the fact that she just said that one lady's walking free after shooting that one kid, and, Jussie Smollett should get a hit on the wrist. If the situations had been where there was a person who got wrongfully arrested for that Jussie Smollett hoax, by her logic, Jussie Smollett should have been in jail that day. So we're going to get into the whole one black radical versus 20 conservatives now. So let's check this out. It's some of the ones, I've seen a bunch of reviews on this, but not everybody goes nearly as in depth as I thought they would, because there's a bunch more. There's two guys that really get played up in it, and it's the young 20-year-old. I think his name's Matthew, and I forget the other one, but he's kind of the heavier set black guy, and he just steals the show. But I admit that they're the two best, but there's other ones in here that actually do a pretty good job. So let's check this out.
I'm Amanda Seals, widely known as a comedian, an actress, a disruptor, an annoying person on the internet who always tells the truth. And I am now an artistic intellectual who commits myself to making art that educates. And today, I am surrounded by 20 black conservatives. My first claim is it is undeniable that reparations are just and necessary.
And that is the weird premise to this show for those of you who haven't seen it. It's first come, first serve. Whoever runs up there to debate first, whoever gets to the chair first is the person who gets to debate. And it's kind of always funny because when you see liberals on the show, when it's a liberal versus a bunch of conservatives, they sprint to the chair as fast as they can, whereas the conservatives are you can have it. It's much more polite on the conservative people's side. It's very funny.
All right, reparations, fair, necessary? My question would be, who's going to get it? Why would they get it? And how long are we going to sit here focusing on trying to get reparations? It's been how many years since slavery? 150 years, 1865? Whenever there's a real thing that the country wants to do, they do it. Stop Asian hate. Okay, there's a problem with the Asian hate. Let's draft a bill, sign it, and it's done. Anything needs to be done is done. With us, it's a carrot they dangle in front of us that they don't really want to do. And it's not going to help. We need education. Oh, it's not going to help? No, it's not. We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that help us in the real world. So if you want to help black people, a check from the government, from our tax dollars is going to get raised because, let's be clear, everybody in here is black. We all American, we all got to pay taxes. It'll go to that. So I don't really see how this is going to help us at all.
Okay. Well, first I'll start with it will help on even just a moral level. The reality is that the United States has become very comfortable with the fact that it does not consider black people equal, and it shows that in many ways that I'm sure we will discuss over the course of today. But ultimately, there has not been a committed, concerted effort to shifting the mindset around the use of black people as...
I'm confused about how they're not equal. What is there something that a white person can do today that a black person can't? I'm always confused by that argument. Just they're not treated equally. Treated equally by who? There are certain people that don't like you. I mean, there's certain people that don't like anybody for any number of reasons. But if there's something that's going on systematically, you have to point it out and say what it is. And she really never does that. The only thing that she ever kind of points to is redlining, and she gets fact-checked hard by Jubilee when she brings that up every time. So this is the thing, is like if there is something that is systematically oppressing you as a black person, point it out, show it to us, and we'll try to fix it. But I'm not aware of any. I don't think anybody is. There's really not. So we'll get back into this.
As a labor force in this nation back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad, we see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks who were put in internment camps. We have seen that done with Jewish folks. We have seen that done even in the case of slave owners who received reparations. When it comes to the use of tax dollars to pay reparations, and this is gonna come up a lot today, it's a matter of values, right? For me, my value system circulates around the fact that I think that as a community, we should all be engaged in repair for our community. So I don't think there should be any problem with there being tax dollars spent at repairing consistent efforts that have been made to impede black people. So the reparations you're talking about are not just related to slavery. There's reparations that have been discussed all over this nation in different communities as it relates to particular massacres, as it relates to redlining.
That's part of it. It's like if they raise supposedly if they raise a certain number of flags, they're voting off the person that's talking to them so somebody else can talk, which is silly because again, every single time that they seem to get into a conversation, they bring in somebody else. But again, I've seen other interviews from people who go, it's not the flags that do it, it's the producers. Just like, which I think it's usually them trying to save or making someone look like embarrassed, at least on the more liberal or progressive side of the arguments.
And the impediment of black people to earn wealth by having property. There's been impediments in various ways that can be repaired. And I want to also just add, there's reparations that are considered a cash payment from a government. There's also the version of reparations that shows up in how funds are applicated to specific groups of people. So there's multiple ways in which what you're stating cannot happen could very well happen.
Okay, now as far as the money going towards certain things is going to help us, let's look at Baltimore Public Schools. They get, I think, the third most money per pupil in the US of A, like $15,000 per student, but yet the majority of the population that comes from that environment can't read. They're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing? We got 25% of us on some kind of government assistance. 1 out of every 3 black men will go to jail. We got to do something. We got to work with our hands, work with tools, do something because we're not doing much of anything. And also, one more piece here. Reparations, again, always in front of us, never going to happen. As long as you've been living, as long as I've been living, as long as everybody been living, they say we need it, and it never gets done. One more piece.
You just said one more piece and you added another one.
I promise.
So hold on to it. No, hold on to it.
I'm going to land the plane. I'm going to land the plane, I promise. Reparations is a thing, like I said, it's a carrot dangle in front of us. They're never really going to get it done. And if it was going to get done, it would have already been done. It's just something that they're using to try and make us stay Democrat. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, Democrats are not doing reparations either. This is not partisan. This is black partisan, baby. Okay?
Well,
this is not partisan.
Who do we vote for? 90% of the time. There's no incentive.
To be quite honest, you're not talking to a Democrat. You're talking to a radical.
Okay, but let's land this plane very quickly.
Who do we vote for? Let's land this plane quickly. You're talking to a radical, not a Democrat.
Okay, you are your own person.
Let me
but
tell you something now. I don't know what they.
Now, throughout this debate, she keeps saying that she's a radical, and then eventually she stops. She pretty much says what that really means, and I'll go and just spoil it now, and we'll get more into it later, but she's a communist. She's an anti-capitalist communist is all this means. Like, she's a racial communist is all radical means to her.
They told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now.
Oh, no.
That's not how we're going to enter. A debate does not require continuously cutting somebody off.
Okay, no problem.
Now, I do want to state this. You're stating things as it relates to how money is not fixing a problem without acknowledging the fact that the problem doesn't exist in a vacuum and that there are so many other factors that are determining how that money is getting spent to impede it from actually fixing a problem. You can put all the money into Baltimore Public Schools you want, but if you are also putting all this money into policing, into communities that are not getting resources, then you are also creating your own conundrum. The other part of this is that when you're saying they, the they is a broad context. And the last part of this that I will say is that you keep saying they're dangling this in our face, they're dangling this in our face. Slavery lasted for 400 years. It hasn't even been 400 years since slavery. So should we be only fighting for a quarter of the time to get repair?
All right.
So, slavery's been around for 400 years in the United States of America. That is true. But you need to check and see how long slavery's been going on how long slavery lasted for the Islamic slave trade. That was also taking slaves out of Africa. You also need to see what other nations still had slavery up into the 21st century, to the 20th century at least, and there's places that still have slavery today in Africa. So is it about slavery or is it about reparations? Is it the fact that slavery was bad and needs to be fixed, or is it the fact that they just want money? That's the question you ask yourself, because there's slavery still going on in the world today in African nations. So, need to ask ourselves some certain questions here. Is it about that, or is it about something else? So, and it seems to be about something else, because a lot of people will tell you is like the price for slavery was paid with the blood and lives of the people that fought to stop it. And remember, more people died at Gettysburg than the entire Vietnam War. So just think about that. That's how many people's lives were lost to fight and stop slavery in the United States of America.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
You've been voted out by the majority.
All right.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
My name's Matt Nuclear.
Hello,
I
Matt.
appreciate-
Matt
Sure.
Nuclear?
Matt Nuclear, yes.
Matt Nuclear, give me a better handshake on that. Let's
Thank
do
you.
it.
I
All right.
appreciate having this conversation with a beautiful black woman like yourself. This is nice. Beautiful arena here. I disagree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations are going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% to 20%. For example, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yeah, white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One.
Okay. She's straight up like, you can't trust statistics. Statistics lie all the time. So where are you supposed to get your sources from? It's literally like, she goes, you can only use my sources, so you just have to listen to me. So very, very great way to always win a debate is we can use sources, but only the sources that I approve of. And the sources that he was quoting are actually coming from the FBI crime statistics. So we need to ask ourselves some questions here is like, so you can't bring your facts into a debate or your statistics, but she can bring hers. Hard to win a debate like that. So she's very narcissistic in this way.
Comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my
Tell me.
God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now. Okay? So on a basic level,
She is thinks very highly of herself, and this guy's younger than her, so she is basically like, you do not lecture me. I will lecture you, which is very, very, feminine energy. Like, you will listen to me. You will do as you are told and listen to me, young man. Like, yeah, she is demanding respect without giving her sources, without doing anything. She's just like, shut up and listen to what I have to say, is her arguing style in this debate the entire time. And that's how she's treating him right now because he's a young man. It's ridiculous.
we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism, and we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start.
Okay. That's the second time she's already talked about getting cut off, and he didn't even say anything. Do not cut me off. Do not cut me off. Like, she thinks very highly of herself.
Start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really exists at all.
Boom, right here. The frickin' Jubilee fact checkers kill her right here. Redlining is the practice of denying mortgages to those who have lived in neighborhoods considered risky. Lenders targeted black and immigrant communities in urban areas. The practice was outlawed in 1968.
No, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist, and stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no
did
longer
exist.
exist. Redlining
Doesn't
absolutely
exist
exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact, and there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school.
And I mean, I don't watch a lot of these, but generally speaking, the fact checks usually go against the person that they're debating, not against the person that's being debated. And in this one, she gets fact checked left and right. Hardcore. And all the ones go against her like 90% of the time. So, I mean, even the place is not defending her. Even Jubilee is not defending her. And Jubilee is a very left-wing like organization.
School systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not.
All right. Now we're getting into the whole school. The issue is with schools is he's right. Property taxes pays for schools. Well, guess what? Very urban and city areas, there aren't a lot of property owners. There's a lot of business owners. And that's right, businesses get tax breaks and stuff like that. But not a lot of property owners. There's a bunch of renters. Big urban areas and cities are renter heavy. So there's more people and less property. So there's not a lot of property value going to the school system, which is why suburbs usually have the highest, better schooling and education, is because there's lots of homeowners. There's a lot of property owners in the suburbs, and all their tax dollars are going to the school system. So that's why schools in the suburbs are better, or why there's like these white neighborhoods always have better schools, is because they live in the suburbs and they're all property owners. They all own houses. Everyone lives in the burbs. If you live in a city, you're a renter because you can't own property. You know how hard it is to buy property in a city that's at a decent price? It's almost damn near impossible nowadays. So that's why the schools there's such a discrepancy in the school systems, because in urban areas, there's more people and there's not as many property owners. There's a bunch of renters there. That's the only thing that you can argue in this fact.
Going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in 3rd grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching.
Here's another one talking about how prisons will build near schools that have low test scores for reading levels. So he goes, while there is a direct correlation between literacy and education levels and incarceration rates, the claim that prison planners use that data to decide where to build has been debunked. Another one where she is being debunked on the spot. She's wrong again. Who would have guessed? Nevermore has there been I don't watch a bunch of these, but I don't know how many other people come on for debates that get fact checked this much. This is ridiculous.
A certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline where we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
How are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
Okay. She just said that she doesn't like to be interrupted. She just interrupted him. Just going to point that out. This happens a lot. I'll try to point these out because we got a long way to go in this. But she interrupts everybody left and right, where she's like, I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want to be interrupted. You gotta show respect to get respect, and she's not showing any respect right now.
Reparations. Actually, no, let me land the plane. We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that black people put into this country. And it would behoove you, young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add, there are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point? I want to say Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young.
I'm so sorry,
Okay. So right as it starts to get interesting, she asked him a question that first time before she interrupted him. When she interrupted him, he didn't get to answer that question. Then she asked him another question. Goes, you have to answer my question yes or no, and you can't say anything else. That is a very, very stupid and silly debate tactic. And then right as it's about to get interesting, again, we're gonna stop this conversation and change it off to somebody else. So we'll move on to the next one, and the next one is actually pretty decent too. That's where my one guy comes in, the one that everybody loves, the one that's getting, the one that everybody really likes, the big fat guy.
Voted out by majority. Please return to your seat.
I hope some of y'all are acting. I really do. We in LA, and I hope some people in here are acting.
She's an actor herself, a comedian and an actor, and she's accusing all of them of being actors. Just wanted to point that out.
Oh, what's that on your chain?
This is corn from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, you got to go.
That's the choice that you are making for yourself.
Yes. The thing with...
Okay, just want to point out, she's being very anti-Semitic right there. So why is she allowed to do that? Why is she allowed to be? Why is the left allowed to be anti-Semitic? But if the right does it, they're right wing and they're, basically Hitler. But the left has this free pass to be completely anti-Semitic. It's just very strange. It's very strange. It's not the first time that she brings this up. She brings this up again. I'll try to point it out.
With the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't call me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I'm 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's a liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got, not asking for handouts from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking to take for money from never had slaves. And let's talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves. So if you want to talk about that, how is that fair if I'm a white person and my family fall on...
That is something that hardly ever gets pointed out, too, was that only 1% of the American population at that time owned slaves. About 1% of the population owned slaves. So they would have been like what we consider today the 1%ers. And then there's also black people, as he's pointing out and is being fact-checked right now, that owned slaves. There were approximately 3,700 free black people who owned slaves, around 1,200 slaves. So, in this case, do they owe reparations? Do people who weren't, do all black people get them, or do only ones that we can prove that were, are relatives of descendants of slaves? And then the other question is, the ones that were descendants of slaves but were slave owners, do they pay reparations? Does Kamala Harris have to pay reparations because her ancestors owned slaves? Questions that need to be answered. Or is it just America that just has to be punished? All American taxpayers have to be punished for slavery. And again, I'm on the concern of America fought one of the bloodiest wars in history to stop slavery. Again, more people died in Gettysburg than they did in the entire Vietnam War, which is insane to think about. Absolutely insane.
On the side of the Union. Why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery. And they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too, because they believed that there'll be a future where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves?
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president and we had a black vice president. I mean, I think she was black. They said she was black. I don't know. So we had
Yeah. That is one thing that we always have to ask ourselves, is if America is so racist, how did Barack Obama win the presidency those many years ago? And he won twice. Remember, he won both terms. So what happened between Barack Obama and now that something's changed, that America is more racist than it was during the Barack Obama years? So that means that Barack Obama made racial relations worse in his tenure as president than helping it. So questions that need to be answered.
A black president, and you know who voted for that black man? White people. Because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have this liberal mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims and not victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal opportunity.
Do not bring up Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby, please.
Let's say the Lord's name in vain. Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know who helped her? White people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad.
No,
Come on in,
no.
come
You
on
know
in.
who helped her?
Come on in.
No, you know who helped her?
God and
People who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things
It's a lie.
That look right there is perfect. How on earth does freeing slaves benefit white supremacy? How on earth does that? That is a question that everyone on the internet has been racking their brain for. It's like, where is she getting this? This is how crazy this woman is. Freeing slaves leads to white supremacy. How? How on earth does that lead to white supremacy? That doesn't make any sense. This woman is crazy. That should be all you need to discredit anything that this woman has ever said ever in history.
Supremacy is a lie.
No, sir,
It's
that's
a
simply
lie.
not
There's
true.
no such- I mean,
if
that's
that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves in positions of power
You
when
know
they
why
do
they're
not
in
have the
position of
power.
power? Because their
hear this.
culture. Black culture is toxic. The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers
So
in the
white
black
culture
home. Let's
Stop.
Okay. Interrupt. She's interrupted somebody in the middle of his speech. Just pointing that out. Doesn't like to be interrupted, but she will interrupt you.
Stop.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
None of this is going to work if y'all are just going to sit here and make up shit.
We having
It's
a
not going to
debate.
work. No, it's a
Okay. Again, if y'all are just gonna come in here and make stuff up, she won't let them bring in facts and statistics because statistics, according to her, lie all the time. What on earth is going on here? You can't do anything. You can't win a debate with this woman because you can't bring in facts. You can't bring in your own statistics. Anything you can't say. Only the stuff that I say you can listen to. That is this. It is the shut up and listen to me debate tactic. Good God.
You have to be in facts.
You're
You are
putting off
literally
emotional
not,
liberalism
I am
right
not
now.
putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off unfounded lies
That's what y'all
based
do. Y'all
in
start saying
conservatism.
misinformation. Remember they
It
did that
is
misinformation thing all summer where everything
Look at this
conservative
man.
did. They said
You're carrying a
misinformation,
chain around your neck of an
misinformation.
apartheid nation that actively wants to harm black people and
What about the
non-Jewish
apartheid-
people.
what
But
about
let me bring
All right. There it is again. The anti-Semitism argument right there again. Just pointing it out. She's allowed to do it. Why are the left-wing folks allowed to be anti-Semitic like that? I mean, good Lord. If there was a right-wing speaker up there right now, they would be like, get this person off the show for being basically Hitler. Get them off the show. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Just had to point that out.
bring it back.
When
Let
black
me bring
people
it
were
back.
selling black people
Let me
in
bring
Africa
it. That was not happening
and
in the
put them
context that
cages,
you're saying.
And they were selling
Let's
their own
bring it
people.
back.
Black people still sell their own people today too. By
I don't
the
know
way,
if I'm gonna last.
we're selling our own people
I
today
don't know if
too.
I'm gonna
You probably
last.
won't last with me.
I won't because
He's not wrong. Africans sold other Africans into slavery. And there is still slavery in Africa today that we don't talk about. So is this debate really about slavery? And saying slavery needs to be stopped because it's still going on today in Africa and in the Middle East and some places in Asia too.
your ignorance is so
So
overwhelming.
y'all, that's liberal. Y'all start name calling when y'all
No,
getting
it's
defeated
not
in an
name calling.
argument.
You won't have an argument because you keep cutting me off.
Oh, well, that's fine. They don't let me
You
come
won't
back. I
even.
made my
You won't.
point.
You didn't make your
I made
point.
my point.
You haven't
And
made
I'm
your
okay with
point.
being
And let me
voted
just
out.
tell you about your point. You started off saying we believe in hard work.
Yeah.
And we believe in being compensated.
Reparations is not though. Reparations is not hard work. It's stealing. It's Robin Hood.
She has cut him off a lot too. Like I said, this guy cuts her off the most, but again, she's cut him off too. So they keep playing this game where she's like, you're cutting me off. I was like, yeah, but you're cutting him off too. You've done it twice since he's been talking.
You said you believe in hard work.
Yes.
And you believe in being compensated for hard work.
Yes.
Were slaves compensated for their work?
They weren't compensated for their work. But why should people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
Are you sitting at
be
home playing a
giving
video?
Okay. Just real quick. Slaves were provided for and cared for. Like I said, not in the way that we would like, but they were given food and shelter for their labor. Now, if there is something that sounds comparable to that, it sounds like communism and socialism. Again, she's giving away her hand here. It's like slavery is basically communism and socialism. Because you can't earn more than anybody else. You're only going to get what the state allows you to have. Or in her case of communism, all of the people around you allow you to have, that, vote for their leader or whatever, that vote for whatever everyone is allowed to have, which is basically the state. So, because if you can't have more than your neighbor or whatever, it's people enforcing that you can't have this, you can't have that. Sounds a lot like, slavery does sound a lot like socialism and communism to me. Always has.
Video game? Are you sitting at home playing a video game? Am I sitting at home playing a video game? No. And I don't know who these people are that you're talking about, because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video games. Where are you getting that statistic? Where are you getting that statistic?
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go.
And that's her attitude. Is like, in my opinion, she's getting ragdolled right now by these people. And the big thing is this woman is someone who probably uses the race card on a regular basis in most of her arguments against people who aren't, black. But she can't use that here against these people because they are black. So she's lost her strongest weapon in her debating tactic right now. And she's looking foolish in front of these people, in my opinion. And then we get back to it is she literally will use some form of this here in a little bit, where she says that, oh, you're not from this country. If there's a black person who immigrated here from another country, she says, you're not the right black, basically. You're not, African American black. So, and she calls them out on that, like that. It's that kid. Because he was raised, even though he was raised in like Maine, he was born in, I forget what country. I think he was Ghana or something like that, but we'll see, because he'll come back in later. But yeah, just like, she's like, you don't count. You don't count. That's basically what she's saying. It's like, so she's literally making it to where, oh, certain people don't count when it comes to reparations. So that's the question that they all have been asking her, is like, who gets it? And she hasn't ever answered. If you notice, she's never answered that question.
Hello. My hand's wet from the bottle.
My hands are sweaty because I'm nervous. We both got sweaty hands. Okay. So I just wanted clarity because I think it'd be helpful.
Now, we're going to go ahead and just like skip forward a bit because this is pretty civil. She just tries to play nice, and there's only like 2 minutes left in this, so there's really nothing really great comes from this little section of it. So we'll go ahead and fast forward. Where am I needing to be? There we go. Next topic right here. Boom.
Yeah, I'm an AI, but I'm here to talk.
Commercials.
Next claim is that black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over-policing.
So you say that black on black crime is due to underfunding and overpolicing, essentially. Yes. I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those. I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should that be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males who grow up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root?
Yep. The root cause of criminal violence is absent fathers, because fathers teach their sons and daughters respect. This is one thing that doesn't happen. Is like, and another thing is too, is like, once a boy becomes a teenager and he realizes that he gets bigger, stronger, taller than his mom, they don't fear their moms anymore. That's why they do this, because men teach other men that, women, like I said, women are a lot like this woman right here. Is like, they demand respect. Not all women, but a lot of women just demand respect. Respect is earned. It's not just given freely. And that's what men teach their sons. Because there's a threat of violence in every confrontation with another man. That is not so the case with women. Said women go about reputation destruction. They don't usually do physical violence. They usually go behind women's backs and like go through and try to destroy another girl's reputation. Guys are more upfront and direct, and there's a threat of confrontation. That's why guys have to semi-respect each other. It says there's a threat of violence there's a possible threat of violence in every interaction that you have with a guy. That's why you can't just go in just being hot-headed. And that's the main reason why I think that you'll see that most like gangs and gang members are coming from like single mother households that have that, or at least ones that have no interactions with their fathers whatsoever. It's because fathers are needed to teach their children boundaries and respect. So, yeah, that is the detriment of society is mothers, single mothers, and fathers that are absent. And a lot of the times, like, it's mothers willingly doing this stuff now. So not all the time, they said, but it's moms literally kicking fathers out of the households now. Or like, oh, you're not making enough money for me now, so bye, I'm going to leave you, bye. Stuff like that. But let's get back into this.
Cause of there being less fathers present.
Bad decision-making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision-making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore...
So it's marriage?
Well, that's a part of it. Marriage is a part of it. Okay. But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less black on black crime. There was less disenfranchisement.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other.
What was there also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like those.
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No. I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate.
This is one thing that I even just noticed before that I didn't even like make any notes on. But like, so what is she saying? She's saying that right here that black people need to be completely separate from white communities and just police themselves. That's what the question I'm asking myself, because that's what it does. She sounds like she is a black, a part of these like black separation groups, which I mean is fine if they really want to do that. But it's the thing is like if there's a group of people who are white that are doing the same, I have a feeling she would be very upset by that. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right here, because she never really clears up these answers. Like I said, everything she gives is very vague. She never really like clarifies because she just jumps from topic to topic to topic. If you keep changing the subject or what you're talking about, you never have to hone in on one thing, because if she ever really had to hone in on one thing, she's going to get torn apart.
Equal. Mm-hmm. We weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing...
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted.
You did.
When we talk about...
That's a good question. That's a good question he just asked her right there. And I want to say, to be sneaky, be like, let's see if she answers it. But I'm going to go ahead and ruin it for you. She never comes back and answers that question. He gets voted off, I'm pretty sure, here in just a second.
About this concept of who is harming us. We are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort to try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize white on white crime. There are white people killing each other every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family.
The topic here is black on black crime as a result of over policing, and she's changing the topic to white people here. Like, that's not what the topic is. So just want to clear that up. And then 2, we're about to get into statistics. She wants to talk about statistics again, but we're not allowed to bring in statistics. So
family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day. Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for 2 reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen this. We have seen this in a real way. So in New Jersey. So in New Jersey.
What numbers can be trusted? Because with the previous speaker,
I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay, so your sources.
You can't such numbers. No, I'm literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing.
Okay. So she keeps saying that numbers can't be trusted. Let's go to the numbers. This is Roland Fryer. We literally have a show on this, on our podcast, that you can go back and look for. This is Roland Fryer. This is the guy that did the whole huge police racial, debunked the whole police shooting unarmed black men debate. Harvard professor. This is a Harvard professor here. Came up from the ghetto and became a Harvard professor. Check this out. Like I said, I like this guy. I love listening to this guy. I read his stuff. I listen to podcasts he's been on. He's great. Check this out.
I collected a lot of data. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result. And so what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense, academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me into...
Just want to point out that she would probably be one of those people that emailed him like that. Just like, the results weren't what I wanted, so therefore it must be wrong.
To the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they say, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. So it was, you know, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for it because, you know, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was really, truly crazy.
Yeah. So that's the guy, that's the statistics guy that she's like, oh, statistics lie all the time. That's the guy that gave the statistics for that police, you know, do police use shoot unarmed black men or whatever more than anybody else, and like didn't find any bias, didn't like the answer. They didn't like the answer. They said police use, when arresting black people, that they're more likely to use force or violence on them, but there was no correlation between them and shooting black men. So she would be like, can't use that. Can't use that. You can only use the statistics that I want. That's how she is. That's how she's been in this whole debate. And that's the guy giving the statistics.
Then listen.
Oh, the Maya's over.
So listen, in New Jersey, they had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one. Okay, so that's one instance.
That's
Hold on,
one
no, you're talking to somebody that works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making content. So here's the thing.
I
So
see.
no, you see. Well, the truth is, you're about to see the truth. If you just give me a second. Like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm going to do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm
She
talking.
just interrupted him.
And you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. So if you want me to keep getting louder, I will do it. But ultimately, if I show you respect, give me the respect back. I let you talk. I let you make your points. I am countering your points. And my points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ. It's
Whatever.
a cross.
It's a cross. Same difference. You got an American flag and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
Not a cop.
it's ACAB all day over here. So let me make that clear. But let me also add to my point. My point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into, you're going to interrupt me again.
I haven't even said a word.
All right, that is.
She has the worst attitude of any person I've ever met.
Flag, so I'm going to ask you to return to your seat.
It's a waste of my time.
And right there, right as the argument starts getting good, end it. They end it because they realize that she is getting wrecked.
Y'all just want to be seen. I don't need to be seen. Hello.
How are you? I'm Jasmine Pretty
Say less outfit. Okay. Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing, and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this. And I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that, and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are going to be homicided?
I want to point out, she is gorgeous. She is absolutely gorgeous.
Or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year. We know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So
This is the next one that I wanted to pull up right here. It's fact check. Police kill on average 238 black men per year since 2017. About 58% more, 150 per, more than 150 per year. So, let's see. We'll bring up one little stat that I have written down here about this. Where is it? Here we go. It said last year, 2024, of those 238 that are supposedly killed on average, 20 last year in 2024 were unarmed. Only 20 black men were completely unarmed. No weapons, period. Meaning no knife, no gun, no any type of thing that can be considered a weapon on them. So that means of that 338, only 20 were completely unarmed. So it means that 200 and, that means 218 were armed in some way. So it doesn't sound like that's the parts that they leave out of these little statistic parts is like if they're getting killed, they're doing something that's getting them killed. So again, only 20 last year were completely unarmed. Whereas we get told by the left wing and ladies like her that it's hundreds, if not thousands, of unarmed black men are being shot by police every year. 20 were shot last year that were completely unarmed. That's still not, I agree that that's not a good thing. They shouldn't have been killed, especially being unarmed, but only 20. It means the rest of these guys were armed. So, again, of the 238 last year that were killed, only 20 were unarmed. That means 118 were armed and resisting the police in some way. So that's how you know that Jubilee is left wing. They're not pointing out those facts that I just pointed out right there.
Debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man, walking down the street,
by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around.
At the same rate?
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get
nothing, we can agree on that.
Okay, because I feel like a lot
nothing
of times
justifies.
like, well,
I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, well I will say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up. They're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we
What is
killing
the
each
root of
other?
the issue?
I think the root of the issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as Black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did, and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my Black grandmother, that is my Black sister, you are my Black sister, and you know that a Black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you, and that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic
always comes back to the family, the breakdown of the nuclear family. So this is why women need to start trying to be chaste again and settling down with good men, not bad boys, because a bad boy is a pump and dump. He's gonna leave you. He's gonna disappear. Said you need to go to church. This is why I need to start coming back to church, bringing everything back to church and family. Because a church, it said, whether you like to admit it or not, a church holds people accountable. So, yeah. It's always coming back to the family.
violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what? It's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault, and the issues in our community are not our fault, and the white man needs to give us something. The old white lady down the street is looking at me, and I don't know why she got braids in her hair. And we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us. I believe that we can do that. That my mom's cousin, excuse me, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A Black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like,
so
my
I can
point
respond.
is that, no, and I'm not trying to be funny, unless, like you said, we're gonna keep it respectful.
Yeah, but you're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm
We're
not
not
trying,
being
I'm gonna
able
let you speak, but let's not get the attitudes and stuff, because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an attitude. I'm being direct to you, but you're literally speaking this, and you're not going to do that with me either.
Okay,
So you're
I'm
stating your
respecting
point, and you've been stating your point for quite some time.
So
So
say
you have
the
a
proper
reason
way
for me
would
to
you like,
respond.
would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only Black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black people
I think
are
that
resilient?
those are two different conversations. I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victimhood? That's my question.
But your statement about Black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's 3 million Black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent Black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an intelligent Black woman that
Many
graduated
efforts
and
have tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities, and we are not all equal in our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree with
We
you
are
on
not
that
all equal in our
resilient.
trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say we because it is a false equivalency.
I believe that every Black person has resilience.
We
From
keep
slavery
trying,
all the way
but we
to
keep trying to cause.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
First, I want to say, I want to kind of get rid of this like right-left ordeal. I really want to talk about just like our own personal views and what we've experienced, what we've seen. And when it comes to your claim about Black on Black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the Black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
can't both happen at the same time? Both are causes.
Because you got to clean your own house before
Both
you
are
go complain.
why?
Because if
You're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house and I'm cleaning it, why can't I do both? Why can't I clean my house and bar the windows from you shitting on my house?
Because it begins with responsibility within us. If we're like, okay, oh, the white person's doing this to me, the white person's not, we're not going to ever come to the core of the issue.
They are.
We need to take
and
responsibility.
And it's not even just the white person, because now we have seen very many races, people of very many backgrounds that are actively participating in the effort to keep a working class down. Like that is absolutely a fact. It's not just white people. So I don't attend to that. But I will say the reality of there being systems in place is real. Over-policing is a real thing. You know what's also been really real is the effort of violent interruption in certain communities, right? So we've seen this in Detroit, we've seen this in New York, we've seen this in Baltimore, where there are communities that have said, what we're going to do is we're going to be like a neighborhood watch for our community. So that before the popo even come, before 12 even rolls up in here, we're going to actually put ourselves in between the conflict and calm it down. And that has been incredibly effective. But you know what? It's not funded. It's not funded.
Another fact checked. According to the Department of Justice, Detroit's model for Neighborhood Watch significantly reduced crime and fear of crime. Neighborhood watches in general, however, have had mixed results. Yeah. So the one method that she's pointing to can't be replicated. Wonder why that is. And then two, what about neighborhoods that are heavy gang related? What if the gang gets into the police the neighborhood watch or whatever, and is like, well, I better get in between and try to dissuade the police from going and looking at these particular houses or these particular, areas, because we don't want the, say whatever it happens to be, drugs or, any type of trafficking or whatever else that could be going on in the neighborhood. Like, let's try to keep them away from this area over here. It's like, because anybody can join the neighborhood watch. So, again, it can't be replicated. It can't be used.
Funded. And you would think that like city councils and mayors and governors would say, shit, you know what? This is going to save us so much money, because why? Taxpayers keep having to pay for the fault of these police officers. And even though we say, well, only a certain number of people have died, that doesn't dispel the fact that a large amount, more black people are imprisoned than any other group in this nation. And that is not by accident.
Again, I started with accountability, and it just seemed like in the
But I
whole
disagree.
Okay. So again, here's another point, just similar to the one that I made earlier about those armed, all the other suspects were armed that were shot. It doesn't matter how many people are in jail. What matters is if they were actually guilty of a crime. Now, you can argue that, they were just, they pled guilty to, downgrade their punishment or whatever, which is true. This does happen. That happened with the January 6 folks. But if you're guilty, you're going to go to jail. If you're guilty of a crime, you're going to go to jail. So the question is not why are there so many, of this particular race and this race not or in jail or whatever, but why are there so many members of this race in jail? It's are you guilty? Were they guilty of something? Did they commit a crime? That's the question you ask yourself, not, hey, why is there this many people of this race in jail? It must be racism. That is the God of the gaps right there. Like, if there is some type of discrepancy, it must be racism. That is a person who is a person who sees everything by race will see. It's the same thing when it comes to the military, when it comes to higher echelons of, let's just say, special forces. So like Rangers, special forces, whatever. It's like, how come there's not that many women in it? It's because they can't do the physical part of it. They can't. These women can't do the whole PT side of it. They can't meet the standards of the PT standards of the special forces echelon. And you're just like, oh, well, it must be sexism. No, we have a standard, and you have to meet that standard to get in. That's what's going on here. It's like a feminist goes, oh, the special forces must be sexist. No, they're not meeting the standard. You have to meet the standard to get in. That's the issue, is like they're looking at it from the wrong way. If there is some type of discrepancy, a person who looks at things, everything through a racial or a social justice lens goes, must be discrimination. Whatever it happens to be. That's why I'm using like the special forces example. It's like, oh, there's not a lot of women in special forces. Must be sexism. It can't possibly be because that they can't meet the standards, the high standards of the special forces. Same thing with this. Like, oh, there's a bunch of black people in jail. It must be racism. It's like, or these people were committing crimes. It's not always racism. It can be, but it's not always. These people always go to the social justice lens.
With you. I don't disagree with you.
Because here's the thing. Look at our media. Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying.
Right.
We're glorifying violence.
Who's we?
The black community.
The black community. Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in? And who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so let me put it in this context. If I have a company.
All right. This is the first time that they bring this up, is media and culture. Right here, this is the first time. It's not the last time it gets brought up, but it's the first time. And who controls it? She's saying it's white people. White people control it. But it's black people that consume the media. Their media. I mean, you guys have BET. Like, what's going on that it's their fault that you guys consume it? You can turn off your television. You can turn off your phones. You don't have to listen to the music. If rap is the white man trying to keep you down, if white people are allowing rap music because they want to keep your communities down, why are you continuing to listen to it? You can turn it off. This is the issue. Is like she does not hold the black community responsible for anything. It's white people doing this to you. It's like, this is insane. I mean, this is the exact same argument that that literal white supremacists have against the Jews. It's not, because they won't say that it's the white people that control the media. They'll say that it's the Jews. This is that exact same argument. It's like they're white people. She's making the same argument against white people that white supremacists make against Jews. The Jews control the media. This is absolutely hilarious.
Right? And you guys are my employees. And I determine what you get to eat every day. That's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods and you're not going to get to have the best vegetables, etc. What's that going to affect? Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc. This is how the United States operates. There's a lot of us that don't want to admit that as much as accountable as we want to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There's a 1% of people that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising, etc. And if we don't acknowledge multiple things at the same time, then we simply cannot stop it.
She's using television and movies to compare real life.
Can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, because we have seen when we have Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Boss, you've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
This next one is...
Oh my God.
Joshua.
Hello, Joshua.
These next couple ones are really like friendly, so I'm going to kind of skip ahead to the next segment here. Let me see here. There we go. We'll just see what the next topic was. We'll start with that. And we got a new commercial. Boo!
Partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
Soy boy that runs this show, not surprised.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Backed by data and history. But we can't cite sources. We can't bring statistics. Again, remember that. Remember that. This next one is a pretty friendly debate, so we'll skip ahead to my next segment here. Here we go.
We'll go back to your claim. You basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that
she just made a wild claim there that school vouchers will lead to racism because of private schools. I have never heard that argument, and if that's the only argument against school voucher programs, because school voucher programs are literally trying to get kids out of bad public schools and sending them to better schools where they can actually learn. Like, I have never understood the argument against vouchers, school voucher programs. Never. I have never heard a good argument that makes logical sense to me. It's absolutely insane. Like, she just said that private schools can be racist, so therefore vouchers are bad. It's like, point out the school that's being racist, and we'll put a stop to it. That's a wild accusation that she just made right there. Wild. And she points to no place before this. I mean, you could maybe point to places in the past, back before the 60s, that would have done something like that. But today, where is this happening today? She just made a wild accusation right there with nothing to back it up. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put it on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was
obviously,
the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like so that's a difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
where he actually won. People still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else.
But when it came down to the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic. Well, because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying, Ryan, nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here. All right. Well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country, right? You know, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think at the very least it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay, I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that is going to be harmful to us. You know, like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of blacks. And so,
where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I look at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing Black people up in ways that are not fair and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based. And when we're in, you know, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so I think that let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, you know, today in modern times where Black Americans can, you know, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all
Are you
opportunities.
Sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the
again,
same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I
do you have
have
the
more
same
support than
community
others.
support?
I have excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grew up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, you know, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income Black people have the same ability to excel?
I took two things that I love.
Besides jumping, that's the first time we really had a commercial issue.
Answering from that point then. So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that.
Just jumping in on that, they have better air quality, suburbs versus cities. Cities are going to have poor air quality because they're industrial. More vehicles. Said suburbs, you're half country, half city. You're going to have better air quality. So she's comparing a huge overarching population, like I said, so like white population is 60%. So yeah, of course, 60% of the population is probably going to have better air quality than a population that only makes up 14 to 13% of the population. So she's playing very, very, very petty little detail games right now.
That policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people, okay? So let's start there. When we talk about low income, like the working class Black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward. When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States.
Widening the options. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is self-explanatory. Equity means equal outcome. everyone gets the same. That's what equity means, which makes no sense if you're trying to do things through a merit-based system. And then inclusion, which if you're diverse, it's already inclusive. So I don't understand why the inclusion needs to be in there. The inclusion part is kind of reductive. So how it widens makes absolutely zero sense. And I come back to military standards. Again, let's talk about like the PT test for special forces. Like anybody can try out for special forces. Not everybody's going to make it if you can't meet the standards. So that makes zero sense. There's a standard. If you meet the standard, doesn't matter what color you are, what sex you are, what gender you are, whatever, you met the standard. That is all you need. You met the standard, you can go. All this, it just includes, it just widens it so that way more people can be in. It's like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Let's go look at how diverse the NFL is. Let's go look at how diverse any sports team is. And if we were playing this whole game by diversity and we have to do everything by that, we should compare it to like the South African standards of you have to do the job quota via population size. So that means every business here in the United States would have to have 60% white people hired, 13% of their employees would be black, and then 30% would be Hispanic, and then 1% to 2% Asian or whatever all the other ethnicities we have, which again, that's what you're asking for. That's what she's asking for. That is what they would be doing if they wanted things to be fair. Fair would mean, okay, we're going to make every business, you have to have this number of people in it, which doesn't make sense because certain areas of the world have a higher population of, again, blacks, have a higher population of whites, have higher populations of Hispanics. It doesn't make sense. You hire around you who you can and who fits the job. This is why DEI makes zero sense.
As a long history of something. We have a short history, all right? For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, Black people were then subjected to the Black Laws. The Black Laws were specifically for Black people. The Black Laws incarcerated Black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had Black people that were serving entire life, months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things, we act as if, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have Black people know the history of this nation. Our good sis here was talking about we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they're passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All good.
That's flags.
Yeah.
See, right as it starts to get interesting, change.
Hi again. We cool now?
We good. I think we're on the same, we're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin. And I think we both want the betterment of the Black community. And I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria.
Great point. She brings up the best point. If America is so racist, why do people come here? Why do we have people from all over the world trying to get here from countries that aren't white? If America is the most terribly racist place in the world, why are people dying trying to get here? Doing everything they can, like crossing deserts, crossing oceans, being trafficked, using human traffickers to get them here. What is going on? How are we this awful place if people are literally doing everything they can to get here? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely zero sense. That's the best point. And I talk about that on our shows all the time. If America's so racist, why is the left openly saying, like, come on in, come on in. We're a horribly racist country, but come on in. Doesn't make any sense.
I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking booty in
the
Nigeria.
Nigerians I know ain't doing it. If they are
We
twerking,
literally
they
learned it
doctors
from Africa.
They're doctors twerking and shaking booty.
literally
So
have
maybe
it
they
from
can shake
Africa.
because they
But
got the
I
money to
think
back it up. But do you see what
that's
you're
unfair
saying? Do you see what I'm saying, though? We have to be honest, Amanda. When
Well,
Indians come here,
as a fellow daughter of an immigrant, right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards for folks. So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been
but your
here.
mama came here and she wasn't the majority. So how did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
And she had her
let me
village.
say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States.
I'm very confused by that. Divide and conquer. I don't know what she means by that. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I don't understand what she's getting at by that. They seem to, but I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what that means. So maybe someone can explain to me in the comments. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I don't understand what she's talking about right there.
States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have black people fighting immigrants and have black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
And fighting white people.
White people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There should be an equality.
We are becoming the new white supremacists.
We are.
We've been
we
putting them
are.
on a pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't do
are.
anything.
No, it's not that we're putting them. It's not that we're putting them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our blackness against our people. When we do what you're saying, we are saying I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure it out.
What about if I believe that the American dream is? I have a right to that as well. Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I want a life for my dream? The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss chick. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the black community we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say that we're
it's
working
not
with
that it's whiteness, it's capitalism, and I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
There it is. She gave up her hand right there. It's capitalism. Capitalism is the issue. Capitalism's the problem. She's a communist. Again, she is a radical racial communist, which means that she's really just a communist, but she's using race to get what she wants because that's the most powerful tool that you can use in the United States. Insane. That's who this woman is. She showed her hand right there. She is a communist. She is a racial communist.
Sitting here benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you would.
I understand that we are benefiting. I understand that we are benefiting from capitalism, but I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a black radical. Is to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and people are coming here every day.
My solution is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't. But this obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we live in America,
let me finish my point. There are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the most important element of their identity because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
Okay. She's agreeing with her right now, but she is talking about her in this sense. She's like, you are a non-white person that benefits from white supremacy as a black conservative. That's what she thinks. That is what she thinks. And I will prove that in a little segment that I have after this where she goes on MSNBC and talks about this debate, and it makes her look worse. Makes her look even worse.
We all deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And that is what capitalism does.
You have to earn it. That's
that is what this nation is. You do have to earn it. You do. Yes, you do. That is why we are criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular basis. How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing inflation.
We have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
No, we have not had people that have done it. My mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my mother
was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made.
Good for your mom, but this is the thing.
So we can't do
it. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, but you know we live in a broken society. I went to Nigeria and they're having the same problems as a bunch of black people that are running Nigeria.
Society.
But it's the same thing in
But
Nigeria.
Nigeria is a broken society, whereas Burkina Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim is black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class.
All right, there you go.
Hi, Layla.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to meet
Layla.
you.
I would actually argue that the black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that?
Just have to point out, she's gorgeous too.
in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued that. That's not
I know
the
that you were
case.
saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be Black Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never disapproved that.
Okay, so let's
That's
say—
not what DEI is. Do you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI right now. Well,
because you're suggesting that I suggested that somebody should get a job just because they're Black, and I've never asserted anything like that.
I mean, I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a lot of the claims are, they're pointing to that.
No, it's not pointing to that. And so that is that. I need to clear this up because it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on that? That we
In the past,
we can't.
in the past, but not currently, but not currently.
So okay, fair. Okay. So how many Black people are part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
Zero. Who?
So seems like there may be a
That's
couple.
not a cabinet.
I don't know.
Scott Turner.
Okay.
So
there are.
So we got two.
So there are.
So we got two.
Can
we got
also,
two. We got two. So back to your point. DEI is about expanding.
Oh yes. Okay.
Not lowering credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender.
Okay.
Because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if it's, if we're pointing toward this, a majority of race is qualified because of the skin, the basic skin.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether they're white, Black. I mean, race is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, Black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had,
First of all, you're a light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing great for yourself.
Yes, and so colorism really does serve us.
I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think—
This is another thing, too. It's just, very strange to me, the fact that lighter-skinned people get made fun of, Black lighter-skinned people get made fun of. I find this very, very strange. Don't know.
Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of the reputation that Black people make for themselves?
What reputation are Black people making for
What
themselves?
would you argue? Because I mean, when I look at
who makes a reputation for Black
let's look at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that—
Oh, are we?
Most of the people—
I'm gonna shut it down right now and let you know that the reality is that when you come to Black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with Black people because you haven't heard of all of Black music.
Most of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted or shown by the media.
That's the argument of, you're a feminist? Name every woman. That's the argument she just made right there. Oh, you're in the army? Name every soldier. It's the stupidest argument in the world. And that's a good freeze frame right there for her. That's hilarious.
Media, right? And who controls those systems?
It defiles Black Americans. But who's putting it out there? We are. Black people. We're the ones putting it out there.
Distribution systems that are putting them out there are owned by white people.
Who listens to them? Because I can bet you, most of my friends, my Black friends that are not conservative, they listen to that music that defiles their bodies.
You know who else
about
listens to that music?
Black crime and
everybody else. But if we
right?
don't acknowledge that they are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are, we simply like to start at the branches of a tree and not at the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king.
And media does not favor conservatism. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at the protests right now in Los Angeles.
Depending on who is in office, media does favor them.
I mean, we have Trump in office right now, and media is not favoring Trump at all.
She's saying the media favors conservatives. Holy crap. Where is she getting this from? Has she just ignored the Trump presidency for the past 2 terms? Good God. Conservatives have never been held up in high regard in the media, ever. Go back to Ronald Reagan. They tried to make fun of him all the time for being an actor and whatever else. So stupid. The media is the political arm of the Democratic Party. The only news media that the conservatives have ever had has been Fox News. Up until recently, with the whole internet explosion of independent journalism. There is no mainstream media. I mean, look at every late night host. No late night host, the only late night host that gave Trump a fair shake was Jimmy Fallon. And Jimmy Fallon got hammed up for that. It's you were being friendly with President Trump. How could you do that, Jimmy? How could you do that? Good God. Yeah, this woman is insane. Send evidence. Please send proof that the media is friendly to Donald Trump besides Fox News. Give me something. I mean, good Lord. You can't, and you don't even say, we're not counting, stuff that came up in the last 10 years of independent journalism. Don't give me, the ones that weren't exist, past 10 years ago. So, ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Media is absolutely not favoring Trump in certain spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day. And we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
All right, guys, that's time. You've been voted out.
Okay, media has never favored black people. We literally did that story on our show the other day about Freedom, Georgia, the all-black community that was being built in Georgia, Freedom, Georgia, that you can only go there if you're black. That was seen by the news as a great thing. Oh my goodness, this is a great thing. We're going to make a TV show about this. And then we cut to Arkansas, where all those white people who say you have to prove that you're a European history, ancestry to join our community. A white supremacist group in Arkansas is making an all-white community. How dare they? We literally just talked about this not even like a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely insane. Yeah, she thinks that black people don't get a fair shake on TV. I would admit, like back in the day, absolutely. Yeah, back in like the 50s, 60s, yeah, absolutely not. But not today. Like, good Lord.
At any point.
And this kid comes back with a vengeance here, and he just dominates the conversation.
So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, black enrollment dropped 64% at UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism, trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race-conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character. And the content of people's characters also includes merit. We have another example of systemic racism. Burgess Owens, he's a representative out of Utah. He's a black Republican representative. He called out the MIT president for having black-only dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people? And the truth is, they're actually more in danger when they're around black people. And that's unfortunate. It's sad that I'm saying this, but it's the case, and I have to say it because it's true. Okay, black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery. It's barbaric, and we shouldn't be doing it as a people. We should try to get more Ben Carson's. Ben Carson's cousins were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson to read and study so to not be like his cousins. And Ben Carson separated 2 twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best pronounced neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen. Right?
Ben Carson said that slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and you know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just start stealing people.
Fact check. Not in her favor again. Slave merchants in Africa sold indentured servants who were brought to North and South Africa. The slaves sold at the ports were captured during war raids or sold by African leaders. So again, the slave trade could only happen because Africans sold other Africans into slavery. Sad but true. Uh-oh.
People. They didn't do that. That's not how that works.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners and black.
They literally did that. And Arabs did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, black people did not consider themselves black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological thing. Sure, there's a social concept, but there's biological differences that exist.
So race and your ancestry and history isn't biological. That's what she's arguing right now. So, party of science, the party that says that they're pro-science, saying that there's no such thing as biological traits. Imagine that. The party that says that transgenders are actually the opposite sex from what they were born doesn't believe in biology. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed?
very convicted in your lack of
different.
information
People can look
around these things. Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay?
talking about
Ethnicity
race.
is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put
That's
upon you.
racism, not race. Race is
No,
simply the
race is
aggregation.
literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to
Said her face right there sums up, like, I have a degree. I have a master's degree in African American Studies. I know things, you know. Her face says it all. It's perfect.
understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally
Look at us.
no.
Look at the
there is
differences.
There is many differences that are equated to ours that
And
has
they're
nothing
not
to do with
biological?
race.
Melanin
That has nothing to
content
do
is
with
not
race.
biological at
so
all?
if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological
But most
proof of your
of them-
race?
most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having
Stop,
curly
stop,
hair.
stop. There's no most of them. You do
Mixed
not have
race?
anything
You're
to prove
mixed
that.
race, too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my father is also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA.
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian, and I look forward to seeing your development because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity that has thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that
Basically what she said right there is you're just a dumb little boy. It doesn't understand anything. It's time for you to grow up.
is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against. You guys don't ever do this. KTS.
You
Dre,
guys don't ever do that.
KTS
Who is you guys?
Members of the black community don't want to hold people accountable, especially black people. So KTS Dre was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You earlier said BLM
Stop
is about
referring
police.
to me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So, for example, we had a really good example of this where it's not a police because I remember you
Where are
said.
you from?
Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay.
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine.
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there was a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, did they teach you about black history in the United States?
I
Like,
learned black history.
are your parents black American?
Yeah, my mom is black. My father is black.
No, I'm asking, were they born in the United
No,
States?
because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from Angola?
Yes, but again, like I told you earlier, right? In terms of people like KTS Dre, they were shot. BLM doesn't come out for them. And I remember you earlier said,
it's really
hold on, can I please finish? You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train.
He was not causing violence.
He was threatening
Causing
people.
disruption is not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
We all know the Daniel Penny story at this point. Said Jordan Neely was being violent and assaulting people in a train, and Jordan Neely stepped up, choked him out with a Hispanic guy that helped him out. That Hispanic guy was never charged, but Jordan Neely sure was because he was a white. But, yeah, so she's willing to lie that Jordan Neely wasn't causing a ruckus or a commotion on the train and that Daniel Penny just killed him because he just killed an innocent man for no reason. But the lady that also lied and said that, the Jussie Smollett's thing was good because he was pointing out systemic, issues and oppression in the United States, even though it was a hoax, is a good thing. Are we surprised that she doesn't believe this? So this woman lies constantly. So she has no credibility. You could not use this woman in court trial because of how much she lies. It's insane.
Causing disruption is not
And
causing violence.
and the people there helped him also. And we know that he helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM. Random people on a train is not Black Lives Matter.
BLM showed up for that. They did.
Showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they're going to
No,
kill
they
white people. Now
didn't.
they did.
Fact checked again. Hard by Jubilee. She's wrong again. Who would have guessed? After the Penny was found not guilty, Black Lives Matter leader called for black vigilantes to retaliate. As the trial was ending, an unknown group placed a sign on the subway that said, "A man was lynched here."
Protested.
BLM New York.
BLM protest. Where did you get that from? You see, your sources are not. You're not able to
But I
cite
have
your
all the
sources.
sources. In
Please
New
go
York.
sit down.
Remember, you're not allowed to You're not allowed to cite sources with her. Statistics are wrong. Statistics are wrong all the time.
That's the truth.
It's not the truth. It's not the truth. It's not. Nothing you say is actually the truth. Nothing. You're not even American. You're not even a Black American. As the daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that Black people from other places understand the disparate difference that they exist from Black people in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of Black Americans.
Wow. She has quite the attitude on her. But that's it. That's pretty much it for that. Like, she has a nice debate with this guy over here, the guy with the awesome sick mustache over here, because he was the only one that was really civil with her. Said, I wish some of these other people had gotten in there because they all did really good. There's only a couple that were kind of boring, but I thought everybody did pretty good in this debate. But again, as soon as it starts to get good, they get voted out. So it's so stupid. That's why I don't like the Jubilee stuff. I really don't. But here she is on MSNBC afterwards, and I think she really embarrasses herself here again. So check this out.
So if you spent any time online this week, there is a decent chance that you saw our guest Amanda Seales in a YouTube debate show called Jubilee, where she debated 20 black conservatives on topics from racism to reparations. Here's just a part of it.
Stop.
Let's talk about that.
Stop.
Seales is back with us. I mean, you just said it right there that none of this is going to work if you're just going to sit here and make up some stuff. So
I got PTSD watching it.
Oh, I'm so sorry you had to relive that. The whole internet at least has been reliving it with you.
Yes.
What was your goal? Why go into that space knowing it could go off the rails?
Because ultimately we are in a desperate time of disinformation. Like, I call this the age of idiocy, right? And we know that.
Coming from the lady that was fact-checked by Jubilee, which is a more left-wing place, and was wrong. Constantly wrong with the fact checks going against her. Insane that she has the balls to say that. So she's learned nothing from
when it comes to the internet, when it comes to media, there really has just been a commitment to not telling whole truths. We know that when it comes to academia, when it comes to nonprofits, like, it's just not a truthful time. And I know that I'm OD truthful, which is why sometimes people have an issue. But when you are of this type of mindset, when you are a revolutionary, when you know that you have the facts, you are responsible to explain it over and over and over again. That is a quote from the great Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. And I know that about myself and many of my peers. We understand that we have to put ourselves in these spaces sometimes and take the bruise and annoyance, knowing that we aren't speaking to just these individuals. We're speaking to an entire audience watching who may never have heard what we have to say, and they need to.
Of everything you discussed, what was the most contentious disagreement? And then what was your most surprising point of agreement?
So I would say the most contentious point of agreement was that across all of the claims, because you have to make 4 claims, then you're debating things that are undebatable, but that's another combo for another time. They all seem to keep coming back to black people are the problem with black people. There was simply no concept of cause and effect, of the continued oppressive behaviors and legislation. You know, we just had Tremaine here 2 seconds ago talking about the ways in which we are still continuing to see systemic racism experienced across the nation. And they just failed to regard that as anything of impact. And it didn't matter how many examples I gave. I would say the surprise point of agreement was actually more of a surprise for them than me, because the last person, you argue a claim that they have, and they had a claim that black people should leave the Democratic Party. And I let him talk, and then I said, I agree. And he was like, But ultimately, I am of a mind that one of our biggest misses that we did after the civil rights movement was that we didn't form.
The issue is she wants them to join the Communist Party.
A third party, a cross-coalition third party to handle what really was really for the people, because the parties have never really been for the people.
Was there any moment in that debate where you moved from where you were going into it in a direction one way or the other? Did anything...
I moved further away from them.
Either further away? That's the only thing.
It was like this.
That's
like,
it, the whole
oh
time.
my gosh. Yeah, because...
And nobody made a point.
Okay, you know what? Actually, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Nobody ever made a valid point.
Not a valid point. I was going to say nobody made a point that you could say, oh, I understand why you are making that point, even if you disagree with it?
It was more so that I could understand how they feel.
Right.
Because they weren't making points.
Yeah.
They were stating feelings about, I feel this way because this happened to me.
The arrogance of this woman.
You know, I feel this way because I read a book, and so I feel this way. But I went in there, and immediately when I got there, I realized, I actually don't want to argue with these people. I love these people. Because this is a very unique version of the surrounded format. It's black people talking to other black people. So there's an intercommunal space that's happening that rarely gets to happen. It's happening in front of everybody. And I wanted in that moment to actually find a way to display discourse, but with civility. But unfortunately, our internet is so committed to toxicity that I had to, at certain points, I didn't even show it, but at certain points, I led them all in a primal scream together. I led them all in a deep breath together. And I really tried my best to get across to them that this is about us figuring out how to align and find a way for us. That's why I'm here.
So do you think it was productive, or did it descend into name calling?
Of course it descended into name calling, because I'm human. And I'm sassy, I'm spicy. But
do you think more people should do this? I mean, some Democrats, and I know you're not by no means rooting for the Democratic Party, but some Democrats, they've been arguing about
be politicians who do this.
Right.
I think
going on with Charlie Kirks and things like that.
No, to me, that's where they're missing the mark. And you said it so clearly earlier in the show, where you say they need to be talking to people. Like folks were saying, Amanda, you should have been arguing with intellectuals. No, we need to be talking with people who are not getting the critical thinking skills. They're not getting the facts. They're not getting the truth. And we see
She's calling them all stupid. They don't have the critical thinking skills that I have. Said they just need to listen to me and everything will be okay.
These folks going to town halls and they're having these performance live podcast tapings, when ultimately there needs to be an intimacy that we are getting back to. And so in this format, I did get a chance to be one-on-one with people. And at the end of the show, there were people that came up and said, thank you so much. I learned a lot. There was a brother from from New Orleans, who I mentioned Katrina, and he actually left the table different than he arrived. And so I think, yes, it was useful, because ultimately a debate is not about who you're debating, it's who's watching you debate. And the goal is not to change the other person's mind, but to defend your stance in such a way that the people watching say, yeah, I got to go with that side.
Amanda Seales, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you, Amanda.
No, thank you. Oh, my God. But, yeah, that woman was unbearable. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. I mean, you saw it. I can't debunk that lady any harder. Jubilee debunked her enough as it was. I mean, I can't believe that she thought that she at any point thought that she won that debate. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. So, but anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for today. This was Chad with the Owasso Live. Sorry that one was a really long one, but that was a long video, and I thought that a lot of those people had better points than some of the other people that reviewed them said, so I wanted to get through all of them. But this is Chad with the Owasso Live. This was The Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that's all I've got for today. I will catch you all on the next one. See you later, everybody.
You shouldn't have an ounce of respect for anybody claiming Black Lives Matter at this point when they don't give a flying flip about black police officers. They don't care about black conservatives. They care nothing about black people in the hood. They don't even raise money for people in the hood. They don't care about black men who are out here doing the right thing, that need a hand up, that need help out. How many businesses have they gave these millions of dollars to? How many black businesses have they sustained during the shutdown? None. How much money went to George Floyd's family that they raised after his death? None. How many went to any of these people? They have done nothing but sit around and bash people as a racist, domestic terrorist organization. That's how I look at them. If you don't want people to not like you, get your stuff together and start supporting people in this country, or shut your freaking mouth. You should